in 2002, I went with my colleague Stuart to Prague in the Czech Republic. We were there to teach a 3-day, 12-session seminar and attend a bunch of meetings with the Czech Minister of the Interior and attend some high-level meetings with government officials. Stuart, his name is Stuart Mack, he's still around. He was the lead on the project, and he was going to teach 10 sessions, and I got to teach 2. Stuart lapped me on a daily basis in terms of productivity, and at that point in my career, I have to say I was not exactly leaning in as Sheryl Sandberg would suggest. I was the chaise lounge of coworkers. So this 3-day thing was really Stuart's show, and I was there because I got to go wherever Stuart got to go. We were met at the airport in Prague by Jarina, who was one of our local hosts, and she had just finished chemo treatment for breast cancer. And the woman had strong opinions about everything from olives and martinis to the dreadful state of healthcare in the United States and the dreadful state of the United States and the excellent experience that she had just had with healthcare in the Czech socialist healthcare system. So she picked us up and we went on a tour, and then she dropped us at our hotel, and about 3 o'clock that first night, the phone rang in my room and it was Stuart. Help. I need to go to a hospital. I think I'm going to die. I grabbed my wallet and a Czech phrase book that I had bought, and I ran to his room, and because those are so handy. He was drenched in sweat. He was like this greenish gray color. And my thought, which I first had, and I didn't verbalize it, was, how do you get a body back to the U.S.? So, very slowly, with a lot of wincing and howling on his part, we made it down 3 stories to the ground floor. And we came, a taxi finally came by. I waved him down, he pulled up. And he didn't speak any English, so I'm looking through the phrase book for the word emergency. Emergency. There's a lot of nuance in language, and it turns out that one emergency word really has no relation to the other emergency word. Anyway, so there I am. No zuvi. No zuvi. No reaction. And I said it this time again. I'm like, okay, I'll use my generic Eastern European accent. No zuvi. Nothing. He's like, And every other fucking person we had encountered that day in Prague spoke English. So I'm like, what, dude, you know what? Can you work the day shift? Anyway, he raised his the nice guy, he raised his eyebrows and he goes, Nemochniki? I was like, yeah, sure. Yes, we have a nemochniki. Turns out that means hospital. So 10 minutes later, the cab stopped in front of a very large and unlit building, and I paid the driver, we got out. And Stuart immediately started to vomit in the street. And I'm grossed out by that, but trying to deal with the cab driver. And I paid him, and the taxi pulls away, and I'm having this pit feeling in my stomach, and I realize my wallet with all my money and my ID was in the back seat. So I said, Stu, you think you're sick to your stomach? So inside the building, we went in there, and there's 2 long hallways, one this way and one this way, and each one is illuminated by one single light bulb down each. And there's gurneys made of wicker. Who knew? Wicker gurneys and PVC pipe wheelchairs lining the hallways. I couldn't relax enough to say we're in the right place. You know. So there's a uniformed security guard. He's asleep on one of the gurneys. And I helped Stuart over to the wheelchair, and I put him in there, and I put a wastebasket on his lap. And I said, just stay here, as if, stay here. So there's a glass information booth way down the way, and I ran down there, and there's this woman, like, sawing logs with her face smashed on the countertop. So I said the word I had just learned. Nemochniki? I mean, a hospital, say hospital? And she said, she looks at me, she could not have been more interested. I mean, less interested, I guess, what I mean. She goes, So she gestures down the other hallway, and I put Stuart, you know, I'm like, pick up your feet, and push him down there in his little PVC chair, and these big, huge wheels, which I later found out they use like on beaches to get people out to the water, as in the sign. So we go down there, and I'm walking, and it's just one closed door after another. All of a sudden, this door opens. Passport. There's this nurse woman there. And so I go in Stuart's pocket. There's people here can attest to why I wouldn't necessarily want to have to fish around Stuart's pockets, but I'm like, there's his passport. And she looks at him, she opens the door, and there's an exam room, and she says, push! So I push him in there, and she points at him, and she goes, sit! Pointing at the exam table. And then she sat down at her desk, and there's this Royal typewriter, manual typewriter, and she takes his passport. This will be the passport for the second. She's like, this is data entry 2002 check style. So he starts to take his clothes off, that's Stuart that is, and I'm like, sweet Jesus, I cannot see this man naked. I ran out in the hall and I figured out this payphone, and I called Jarena, our host, and she said, hello. I said, Jarena, it's Marya Morris. She's like, what? Why didn't you call me first? We have a meeting at the Prague Castle at 10 a.m. with the minister. Stuart needs to be dressed and ready by 9 a.m. Where is he? Let me talk to him. So all of a sudden I'm in trouble. I said, I'm sorry, you can't. Can't what? You can't talk? What can he do? Oh, he's not going to be able to go to any meetings today. He needs the day off. A day off? Then what would have been the purpose for your trip to Prague? And where are you? What hospital? Hold on. I think it's called Na Francescu. Oh my God, they will kill him. I will be there in 15 minutes. I sat down on the bench and I looked at my watch. And it was 4:22 a.m. on May 21st, which was my 40th birthday. So the song pops in my head because I needed to cheer myself up, and I am a glass half full person. It's called Reasons to be Cheerful by Ian Drury. So there I am. Reasons to be Cheerful, part 1. I'm in Prague. Reasons to be Cheerful, part 2. No audience. We found the hospital. Immunity. Reasons to be Cheerful, part 3. I'm healthy. Reasons to be Cheerful, part 4. Oh, fuck it, we are screwed. So almost an hour went by, and there's no sign of Jarena, who, was going to come and intervene in this vivisection or whatever she thought was going to happen. And the exam room door opens, and there's poor Stuart in his PVC wheelchair, shirtless, his pants are undone, he's got his wallet and his shoes on his lap. He says, they're taking me for investigation. And at that point I thought, well, maybe, a hospital should know what to do if a foreigner dies here. So they'll help me if I need to get a body back over. So Jarena got there, and the doctor told her that they're prepping Stu for an appendectomy. And I thought, well, I've heard of appendectomies. This is great. These are easy. So can they do that laparoscopically? So the two of them conferred for a bit, and they had a good chuckle, and she goes, not in this hospital, apparently. So Jarena and I left the hospital about 7 a.m., and she took me to my hotel to change clothes. In the car, she said, Marya, Stuart is not well. This is news. You will teach the seminar. It is your job now. It was almost like I don't know science fiction, but it was one of those things where the baton is passed from the elder to the younger. And I consider my options, like slipping out the back door and heading for the airport, but I thought, I guess I have to lean in. I didn't know the term at the time. So I called my boss in Chicago, and I told him the story. This is a guy who was very difficult to get a rise out of, and so he said, oh, God, well, what can we do? Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being able to interject one single iota of alarm into your voice. And I said, well, you know what? It would really, really helpful if I could switch hotels. Because we're far away and I need to be closer to the hospital and to the government buildings and whatnot. He said, absolutely, whatever you need to do. Well, the only one I could find was the Prague Intercontinental, which is 5 stars. And it was the only one, honestly. I said it's Prague Spring, which then I thought, was that like a militaristic protest movement, or was it like a music festival? I couldn't remember, but it sounded convincing. It's Prague Spring, I need this one. So by 10 a.m., Jareen and I were at the Prague Castle. Who's been there? Lovely. And we were in a meeting with the Interior Minister, and we're in the private library of the President, Václav Havel. It was a very heady experience that Stuart would have relished, and I felt bad that he wasn't there. I felt really bad that I wasn't on some operating table in the virtual third world hospital. So we got back to the hospital about noon, and Stuart had just gotten out of surgery, and he was in the ICU. And all this had to go through Jarina, who I could just tell was filtering it and giving me like the worst sounding news possible. So he said, I'm handed this pair of moon boots, like these filthy, massive clown car white moon boots that are bigger than my feet, which is saying something, and this undersized hospital robe because we had to keep germs clear of the sick man. So there's this hallway, another hallway, and they're like, so I put the robe on and it's like this, and then there's these boots, and I'm like, checking each room, trying not to invade other people's privacy. And I find him there, and he's in the last bed. He can barely talk. His mouth is like dried open. He's telling me who to call, like, you know, call my daughter, call this person, call that person. And it turns out they had went to get the appendix out with the knife and fork, as, you know, the old days. And they found this pink, healthy appendix, so they kept cutting. And what they found was peritonitis, which is a deadly intestinal infection, and he would have died if he hadn't been treated. But he did. He was treated. He was alive. The windows were wide open. There's bees coming in. So there I am in the filthy moon boots and the undersized robe going, thank God I'm not the one that's going to make this infection worse. So he's moved to a hospital, what they call the American suite at the hospital. It was a large sunny room with hardwood floors and real furniture and a TV. And the nurses looked like supermodels with names like Ivushka and Natashka. They wore these like real short mini skirts and these snug blouses and those little funky, you know, slutty Halloween nurse hats. I realized at that minute that Stuart was going to be just fine. So I ended up doing a 3-day seminar by myself, and we spent another 10 days there waiting for him to be released. He really didn't need me to visit all the time with the Ivushka and Natashka. I went to the Torture Museum, and I found an internet cafe. This is pre-internet, kind of. But in total, his surgery and his ICU stay came to $3,300. And Blue Cross still fought him about it. They would probably still do that today. My hotel bill at the Intercontinental for 11 nights, with a lot of room service and a lot of phone calls, was $987. I think this was like the dawn of medical tourism for me. So for the last 5 years, Stuart and I have been working on, this is the epilogue, working on a contract with the government of the U.S. Virgin Islands. And last year, in 2014, he was down there for some meetings, and I was at home and the phone rang. And it was a number I didn't recognize except for it said USVI. And the guy said, Mrs. Morris? Yes. This is Sergeant Jessup of the Virgin Islands Police Department. There's a Mr. Stuart Mack here, and he'd asked me to call you. He's become very ill on a flight from Miami to St. Thomas, and he's now in the ambulance on his way to the St. Thomas Hospital. Would you like the address? I can also transfer you to American Airlines, and they can book you a flight here. And I paused. I thought And I said, you know, it is so sweet of him to think of me. Can you tell him I wish him well in this and every future emergency? Click.